Well, good evening, afternoon, good morning, whatever it is to you. Today we're checking out an audio interface, and it's a little bit different than some of the other audio interfaces that are out. This is the XVIVE More You HUB audio interface. So when XVIVE reached out to me about demoing this, I wasn't really sure how I would. I use audio interfaces every day for what I do here, but they're completely out of sight, out of mind. They're unseen, they're just buried on my desk and are usually a lot of other equipment. But then I researched the XVIVE unit a little bit more, the More You HUB here, and realized it's an expandable unit. And I started to realize the capabilities and the use cases that somebody might have for it. All right, in the box, we got a Type-C cable. I love that Type-C is just the universal standard now. It was really annoying for a while having so many different plugs. So the More You HUB, as it is, this is just the hub. There are expansion units that you can grab for this as well. It has 10 inputs total as it is. 2 of them are microphone inputs, and then you do have the instrument inputs as well. But it's expandable into a full 24 by 20 just by plugging in one of the expansion units, and it just plugs in through an XLR cable and can carry an additional 44 signals through it, which is pretty crazy. Somebody like myself doesn't need that many inputs. I usually only plug in 2 to 3 max at a time, right? But think of all of the musicians out there that are recording live drums, for instance. Or maybe they're wanting to just record their band live and have everybody playing at once. You can mic up your guitar amps, you can mic up your singers, you can mic up the drums and the bass, and have that all going into the audio interface and showing up inside of your DAW. This does support ADAT, so you can plug in other expansions as well, but obviously you'd probably want to stick with the one that they make. But let's go ahead and open this up. I've got it on camera there for you, hopefully. So we've got the little cover off here. We've got some handy quick start QR codes that are inside of there as well. Very useful. It's a good looking audio interface. I like the large knobs and everything. No pun intended here. All right, inside the box we have the interface. It's hefty. It's actually got a good weight to it. What else do we have? We've got some stickers. You know we love our stickers. And then we have a catalog of the other stuff that XVIVE makes, some in-ear monitors and things of that sort. All right, let's move that aside. We need to get to the interface. So let's go ahead and peel off some of this plastic here. I got to do that. Ultra satisfying. You know what's most satisfying though? Is it all came off in one go. That's that stuff we like. All right, so on the audio interface here. So you notice on the front of it, we have the 2 XLR inputs. These are also the instrument inputs. We have the power button, and then we have the headphone out. There's dual headphone out, so you have the 1/4 inch, and then you have the 3.5 millimeter. And then on the back of it, you have your More port. So the More port is what you would then plug in from one of the expansion units. And so you have it going in, and you can also go out to more expansion units as well. We have the USB-C, we have a USB power, there's the ADAT in, and then the out left and right, which would go out to your studio monitors. And then MIDI in and out, which is very useful as well. I actually don't own an interface that has MIDI in and out right now. So that's a huge plus. Now on the interface itself, you do have your direct button, you have your instrument button, then you have your phantom power, you have your phase flip, and then it looks like you have a low cut. You have reverb that you can add, so if you're using this for like voiceover for things like a podcast or for live streaming, you can add reverb right away to make it just sound a little bit better, give it that more, And then you have your mix knobs as well to control how much of each of those inputs is going into that mix. You have your talkback button. So again, if you're working in a situation where maybe you've got a drummer mic'd up in a different room, or you've got whatever instrument they're playing mic'd up in a different room hooked up to the expansion unit for this, you can use this talkback button to quickly say something into their headphones, because this is also a great headphone amp as well, because you can create a ton of different headphone mixes in it, which is awesome. You have your monitor control up here as well, and then you have your knobs to control through the different things on screen. So, let's just get this plugged in. I'm gonna plug it into my Mac Mini. That's what everything I use goes through. So we've got their Type-C cable, which thankfully is a thicker one because my cat likes to chew through cables, so it's always fun. He's done it to quite a few of them. Okay, let's go into that Type-C port. I'm not gonna do any cable management right now. We're just gonna plug this bad boy in. All right. Booting up for the first time. Okay, on screen there, you can see all of our different channels we have. This is actually a really nice little screen on there. That's surprising. This would be great as a mobile interface for recording band practice, for instance. You can set up a monitor mix here and you can get everything sounding great and record your live practice session. Or for any of you that work with small venues that maybe don't have a ton of money to buy an incredible mixer setup to record live shows, this would be a great alternative to that with maybe 1 or 2 of the expansion units and be significantly cheaper than some of the other ones that are out there. But if we talk about some of the other features of this, because we have the ability to attach a bunch of the expansion units or even just hook up the hub units to each other as well, you can have multiple different instrument mixes going, and it can auto gain all of those, which is pretty crazy because it can make sure that none of your signals are clipping. And that's really important when you're in a live situation. Even with the best of headphones, you might not notice it. You might not be watching the meters. So having the auto gain feature is actually pretty incredible. And that's this little 0 dB that you see on the left here. That's the auto gain feature. And then on the right here is the headphone gain feature. And so you can use that to lower the amount of gain that's going out into the headphones. Again, if people are wearing in-ear monitors, you don't want to blow out their ears. So it's nice to have those features built in here. The talk back button here, you'll see when I press it, it illuminates. When I let go, it doesn't. So that's pretty self-explanatory, right? And then we have our mix buttons here. These are nice because they don't keep turning. A lot of the cheaper interfaces, they have potentiometers that just turn and turn and turn and turn. These actually have a hard start and stop space on them, which I really actually do enjoy, because it means that I can't accidentally keep going and keep going and keep going, and I know where I'm at. And that's something, you know, that guitar amps have. Their knobs don't just keep turning. The knob on my guitar doesn't just keep turning. So I'm gonna get off that gripe here, but that's just a nice feature for me. So we have live mix, we have main, left, and right. So you can switch and control the volume. So if we change the output for the live mix, for instance, and then we change the output for the left or right. All right, so over here, if we swipe between the different channels, right? So I have channel 1 and channel 2. I can then up the gain for channel 2, or I can put it back to channel 1 and change the gain there. Or if I switch it to this, I can change my source. So Q, main, and then I can change everything from there as well. So really intuitive little knobs here, and it makes everything really easy. If you tap on it, it opens up another menu here, and then you can just tap to exit. Same with over here. I have the individual mixes that I can change, and so it gives you a little bit more of a fader look, which is pretty cool. All right, and I can pan it and everything too. So a lot of controls, and just by clicking through, I can click to panning and everything like that. So a lot of controls that you can change and parameters that you can change just by scrolling through the menus and using the onboard knobs here. So I find that extremely useful. And all of this without having to adjust any software. That's actually extremely useful to me as well, because every other interface style device that I've owned, you pretty much have to download their software to make sure you get full usability. And that is the perk of having an onboard screen here and these different knobs and buttons to control everything. So my initial thoughts on this interface. It is fantastic for not only just a bedroom musician like myself, right? This is a really great addition to the live gigging musician's arsenal because it's small enough to be portable. It has a ridiculous amount of features for adding a ton of inputs to it, so that way you can maybe record your band's entire live show. But it's also simple enough for somebody to use just for live streaming or podcasting, or, you know, doing what I do where I record my screen all the time and I need to record my mic audio and everything separately. And that makes this useful for people like me because I don't have to use my DAW. I don't have to use Logic Pro with this. I can actually run an output out of it and into a separate audio recorder and still have reverb and still have a mic mix and everything to make my audio sound pristine. So an interface like this is not just a one-trick pony. It's not just good for use with a computer, because you can power this and it can turn on its own. So that makes this more of a combination between, like, you know, a live mixing unit without having that gigantic thing that's not very portable, and an audio interface. And that's probably why they didn't name it an audio interface. This is just called the More You HUB. And it's because it's a mixer, it's an audio interface, it's a ton of different things in one, and it's expandable. So this is just my initial video on it. I'm going to test it for a while and see what other use cases I can come up with it. But what kind of use cases would you like to see me test with it? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to put it through its paces and update you on a future video. And for only about 330 bucks at the time of this filming, this is actually a pretty great value. It's not gonna break the bank. It's giving you multiple devices. Again, you're getting a USB audio interface inside of this, and you're getting a live audio mixer that can be used for so many different purposes. So for the price, I'd say it's pretty great. And again, you can get the add-ons for it to make it do even more. That's something the everyday audio interface, no matter the price, can't actually do, especially because this can run standalone. It does not need your computer to run. I want to emphasize that here because it's one of the coolest parts about it, is that as long as you can get power, which, you know, your laptop can power, so you can power it off a laptop if you want to, or you can just plug it into USB power and run this out to a PA system, or you can run it into MP3 recorders. You can run it into a tablet if you wanted to. So extremely useful. But that's it for now. Look out for the future video of me showing you more use cases for it and how I decide to use it in my home studio. And until next time, peace and love, and I'll talk to you in the next one.